He was logging in 3 different times. I'm like, what in the world?
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to this week's live stream. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. If you are here for the first time, I am Shelly Speaks Truth. And as you can see tonight, we are going to be talking about polyamorous relationships. I have a very special guest with me tonight, and I wanted to bring someone up here to have this conversation with us that is part of the polyamorous community so that we can get an insight on the dynamics of these relationships. I am not a part of the polyamorous community, so I didn't think that I would do it very much justice. So I did invite Mrs. Empress Valley here with me so that we can get into some deep dialogue about this. One of the main reasons I wanted to talk about polyamorous relationships this week is because I've been seeing a lot of arguing online about polyamory, and I think that it will serve us well to have some information on it because I see a lot of people with misconceptions about what polyamory. This wonderful guest up here with me so that we could get some more information on it. Now, before we get started, I would like to thank the sponsor, buhosting.com. If you need a website, you want to check out buhosting.com, very reasonably priced websites. They also offer website hosting. So please go ahead and check out buhosting.com. So I want to jump right into it because, like I said, I've seen a lot of arguing about polyamory online, on YouTube, Facebook. There's a lot of people that's curious about this particular relationship dynamic, but there's a lot of confusion about it. And people, when they're not really aware of something, they do have a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of confusion. So I just want to jump right into it with our guests and ask some questions. If anybody has some questions, please feel free to ask. I may take a call or two. I will be reading comments here in a minute. So if you have questions, please go ahead and ask them. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it with my questions. First of all, thank you very much for being here with me. And if you could please go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, thank you for having me. I go by Empress Valley. If you look me up on Facebook or Instagram, I'm Empress Valley White. I am I don't really know how else to introduce myself. As far as I go straight to business, but no, we're not talking about business stuff right now. We're talking about personal, right? As far as the polyamorous, poly life, because I hate the terms. Like this really drives me crazy. But as far as the poly life goes, I have experience in the poly life in multiple ways, and I say that because as an outsider, a person that is not familiar with the lifestyle, we automatically think when you hear the word poly or polyamorous, you automatically think swingers. And that is not the case whatsoever. It's so many different definitions. It's like, okay, if you have two husbands, you're this. If you have, it's all over the place. So in regards to my introduction and my title, I wouldn't give any. I know, you're into any of those boxes. Um, and maybe I just don't want to be any of those boxes because the prefix poly means many, and that's pretty much what I am into. The ability to have multiple relationships with multiple people and spreading love and building.
Okay, well, thank you very much for clearing that up for me. Like I said, I don't really have a lot of information on the lifestyle, but I started to take an interest in it when I seen a lot of people talking about it online. Some people wanted to get into it, but since there's a kind of like a stigma on it, I think that a lot of people are afraid to open up about it. And if they may be in a monogamous relationship right now, they don't want to let their partner know that that's how they're feeling. And I really think that that's not a good thing. But I'm going to get into the questions because I have a couple and I'm sure a lot of people want to know. So, as far as your relationship dynamic, what is that like? Are you in a polygamous relationship? Are like how could you explain to us what the dynamics of your specific relationship is?
Okay, well, I laugh because it's going to be, it's going to get confusing here. I am currently in a polygamous, I guess you can say a polygamous relationship. However, the link between us three was my girlfriend. I am bi, and so I have a girlfriend, and she and I started off in a relationship first. Let me see, about 7 months into that relationship, technically, well, being involved with her, she is a married woman. She's married to a man. And so being involved with her, talking to her every day, going different places with her, her coming to visit me, these things also pretty much opened the door for a relationship with her husband as well, because he's always there. I call her, video chat her, hey, I'm talking to him too. And so within that, we end up building a relationship. So I am in a polygamous relationship, but we call that FFM, where basically the F represents the female, M represents male. The F is in the middle, so that's our connection. Is her as the female. However, my dynamic does not stop there because that's not my end goal. My end goal, if you asked me a year ago, prior to falling in love with my girlfriend, and where I wanted a woman and I wanted a man. Now that I'm in that type of relationship, I'm not, because they already kind of have an established entity. Even though I'm a part of them, I too still want that to establish that same entity within my household as well. So I am still open to a male mate. That's my goal. And then depending on, once he's in this in this environment, if he wants to, if he's poly, he wants another wife, I'm open to that maximum. But if he's monogamous, then it would just be him coming into our triad pretty much that we have right now. So a little confusing. There isn't really a term to describe what I have going on right now, but I am involved with a couple. That's my stable set relationship right now.
Okay, so yeah, that's really interesting. So you mentioned you mentioned into your households. So I think that a misconception with poly relationships is that everybody lives in the same home. So within poly, you can live in a separate home from your partners.
Yeah, so technically the term poly, and this is where I was talking kind of brushed on a bit earlier, the term poly means many. Polyamory means to love many, right? It as far as whether or not you live together or not, that really isn't a determining factor. Um, it gets more interesting, of course, when you actually live together. And this is kind of the transition that I'm in right now, in a sense of being with my girlfriend. She has a whole household. She has three children, her and her husband. They live about an hour away from me, and so the opportunity to come together is not as easy as if, we were separate entities, in the sense of, no children, or, we were closer by, it would be much easier. So we are getting, our minds, and what we're planning for financially is to get, we have this huge compound, we get ready to build, it's a lot going on. But no, it's not defined. I don't have to live with them in order to be poly. I have a set relationship. I am just like in monogamy. You have a relationship, or you can have a boyfriend and not live with them. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's the same thing. It's just a different way of loving, basically.
Okay, okay. So yeah, that like I said, I have a lot of questions because
Shoot.
I think that, people when they're ignorant to the facts of things, it does cause arguing and a lot of confusion because um one of the things that I see with poly relationships and people, I guess people who obviously aren't in poly relationships, I see a double standard. And that's what I really wanted to ask you about.
Yeah. It's there.
because when I put a post up on Facebook about a couple of days ago, and I got a lot of, I don't want to call it negative feedback, but I got a lot of reactions from men. And they were like, oh, hell no. They don't want their woman
Yeah,
to be in a poly relationship that involves
another man.
another man, but they're wide open to the woman allowing another woman to come in. And I kind of feel like that's I don't know, but I don't think that's a good way to start a poly relationship. Like trying to crowbar it down somebody's throat, especially if you're not open to them being able to indulge in it the way that they would want to. So, do you see a lot of issues with that within the poly community for people who want to start it, who might already be in a monogamous relationship? Like, what do the women say? Do they say they have a hard time?
So this is one of those fights that's never going to end because it all depends on pretty much preference, right? I
Mm-hmm.
literally just got into a huge debate in one of my poly groups of the same exact thing. A woman posted, she said, "Hey, we're interested in poly. We're open to it, but me and my husband talked, and he does not want me to have another male. How do you all feel about that?" And the people were, oh, going in on him and everything like that. And I made a post immediately after to help people understand there are okay, first of all, it's okay to be ignorant in this sense because when I first came into knowledge, I'm not going to say came into polygamy, poly life, because I think I was always poly for real. It just I didn't know there was terms for this stuff. But when I first started researching and trying to get that definition, right? Because I'm something is different about me. It's a group that I have to be in, right? Started researching, you start coming, when you Google poly and polygamy and all of this stuff, polyamory, you come with all these definitions. This two, three, this, many, this. It's a million definitions out there. And I'm going to tell you from this, and again, all relationships that I've had, most of them don't even fit in any of those windows. And so the conclusion is this: there's really no right or wrong way. That guy that doesn't want his woman to be in a relationship with another man, it doesn't make him wrong and it doesn't make him not poly. His poly vision is I want two women. That's his poly vision. Now, as his mate, she has to consider what is her poly vision? What does her poly look like? Okay. Now, if these two visions come up together right next to each other and they don't match, then that's a whole other conversation that needs to be had, if that makes any sense. Um, I feel like no shot to monogamous people, but I feel like a lot of monogamous people come into the poly world as an experiment or as, oh, I want to see how it goes. I want to play around, which is absolutely fine because, we have to at some point experiment, right? That's a part of life. But I think when we get into these dynamics, we kind of start confusing everything because we're looking for it to be a set way. Well, guess what? You're with me, I'm with you. We're going to do poly stuff. You talking about you want to, want another woman, then I should have another man. That's not how it goes. That's not what this is about. Having the ability to love multiple people is just that. Having the ability to love multiple people. If you are already a set entity, you're already married, you already have a very stable relationship, talk to your partner. And people who don't, and I'm gonna say this straight out, women who don't want to talk about their desires because they're afraid of how their man is going to react to it, it's not his fault, it's yours. And I say that because poly life is all about truth, communication. That is it. There's no other, we like to put all these terms and rules and regulations, and it has to be this way. If you have a woman, no, it's not any of that. It's between only those parties involved. So if you and hubby are together and you're talking about it, he says, "Hey, I'm open to being with one more woman. I don't want another man." And you're great with that idea. Your poly is perfect. Awesome. You already know what you're building. You're looking for one other woman to join into your relationship, and that's it. And that's perfectly fine. Where there may be another person, um, There may be another person who, like, for example, solar poly people, they don't want a established relationship with any one person. They may have five different relationships going simultaneously, but no one has hierarchy over the other one. That doesn't make their poly wrong. That's their poly. You understand what I'm saying? There may be a couple that says, hey, guess what? We only want one other couple. We're not dating a single person. We want a whole other couple. That way we get one man and one woman and we all join in together. That's their poly. So there's no right or wrong of how you poly. It's about communication with those individuals with whom you're in a relationship with.
Okay. Yeah, I'm learning a lot because I didn't really
Her face was like,
because I
okay, mind
didn't
blown.
really no, this is good because like I said, I want us to have a discussion about it because a lot of people online they were arguing and I'm like, there's really no reason to argue about it. If we have a discussion where I can get someone who's part of the poly lifestyle to explain it to us and clear up a lot of the confusion around it, then we can learn something because people who aren't part of it, they have a lot of opinions about it. There's
People who are a
there's
part
kind
of it have a lot of opinions too.
of there's kind of a negative stigma on poly for some people. And they're like, it's wrong, you're supposed to commit to one person, marry that person. And if you need multiple people, that means that your partner does not fulfill you. So, what do you say to those people that have that stigma? Like, if I need to go out there and have more than one person, that means I'm not satisfied with the person that I'm with. Or even if a person was in a relationship and they they wanted to introduce poly to their partner and the partner got offended and said, well, am I not enough for you? Like, what advice would you give to a person that's in that situation?
So, but you asked so many questions back to back. I was trying to remember them all so I can go in order.
Well,
Um,
the first one was, why do you think there's such a negative stigma on it? Like, for some
okay.
people, they feel like if I need to be in this situation where I'm with more than one person, that means that I can't fulfill my partner.
So,
And
sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. You go.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this, and again, remember, I am poly and I'm bi. Okay, so I can't. I must admit, when I have dated monogamous straight women, and I have friends. I've been in that mindset of monogamy before, right? Before I actually knew this was a thing and this was okay, because everybody goes through that transition. Like, is this okay? Like, people are gonna look at me funny, that type of thing, right? Being instilled with a monogamous mindset defines all of this. You're supposed to have one person, you're supposed to have this, it's supposed to be one love and one person, you marry them and that's for life. Me personally, and again, I'm going to apologize in advance. This is my poly mind talking, right? Me personally, I don't believe that. I think that's hogwash. I think that, and this is just me. Again, I'm not knocking anybody for being monogamous, okay? This is just my preference. This is my ideology. We can go into history, we can go into religion. I try my best when I have these poly talks not to get that deep because we can go way deeper. But the original way of things was not monogamy. You want to go into religion, you can look at the first book of the Bible, the very first book of the Old Testament. They start talking about a lot of things in the book of Genesis, and all of that was somebody begat this wife and had 400 wives and 500 wives and this and that. It's all polygamy from the beginning. So we can get into deep and what you're supposed to have. That whole monogamy stuff didn't come to way later. And why it came, that's a whole nother thing. Research on your own. I'm not even going to get that deep into our history, right? But anyway,
Right.
so polygamy is a natural way of things, in my opinion, right? And in the opinion of a lot of historians and all of this. But regardless of what, when people say things like that, oh, you're supposed to be, oh, I'm not enough for you. Because I actually had this experience where I was in a relationship with a guy. He was monogamous. He understood from the beginning what I wanted. And he said, oh yeah, that's fine, yeah, that's all good. And it's okay until he has to really face it in a sense of, hey, I'm going out with someone else, you know, I'll be back tomorrow or I'll be back later on tonight, or whatever the case may be. Then it's like, you know, the jitters come because I was with you all of this time. Now I'm getting ready to go out for a second, I'm just spending time with the other person.
Mm-hmm.
There's the jitters, and then comes the drama afterwards, right? And one of the things that he did say was, am I not enough for you? And my answer was no. So I say this because when you have a well-oiled machine, let's say you have a business. In a business, you have the CEO and the owner. You're going to have managers. You're going to have the person at the front desk that's running the front desk, right? If you have a restaurant, you're going to have waitresses and waiters. You're going to have cooks. You're going to have cleaning people. There's different parts, there's different moving parts that has to be in place in order for that restaurant to run well, right? That's
Right.
kind of the way I see things the same. I find that a lot of monogamous relationships fail because of false expectations. We expect our mate to be everything for us. We want our mate as a woman. I wanted my ex-husband to, I want you to be my best, my home girl too. When I want to talk to you about this crazy stuff going on at work, or this crazy girl did this, I want you to listen to it. I want you to respond like my homegirl do. So when you don't respond like my homegirl do, now I got an attitude like, oh, I don't even want to tell you stuff. That's not his job. Let him and all of his skills and all of his assets and everything that he's going to give to me, let me appreciate him for those. And that's it. I'm not
Right.
going to force him to be my homegirl. That's what I'm calling my homegirls about. So
Mhm.
give me a second. I'll be there in a minute. Let me talk to my homegirl and let me tell her this drama because I need her to be in my homegirl. I need her to be my homegirl. The same thing when I needed a recipe to cook, and my hubby don't know how to cook that. Let me call my mom or my grandmother and get that recipe. It's the ability to take the positive and the assets of every person involved, and be able to build on those basically. And when you have a group of people, and again, when I'm talking, it sounds like I'm talking about a million people. It doesn't have to be a million people. Right now, it's just me and my two, me and my couple, right? So it's only three of us. Maximum, we're getting to 4 or 5 max, right? And that's it. I don't, I'm not really I'm not a swinger. I'm not looking for a million other people. But
Right.
within this circle of people that we have together, we have the capacity, we have the ability to take each other's strengths and build an empire we always talk about strength in numbers, right? That's something that we heard before. We heard that term many times before. I'm able to build that within a romantic relationship within this circle. Like to me, that's what it's all about. It's beauty, like it's love, it's building, it's finances, it's so many other options. Now we're talking. You asked me the question about my advice to people that's interested in kind of getting into that. The
Mhm.
number one thing is mindset. You have to shift your mindset first before you start experimenting. And I say that from, again, I've been on many sides. I've been the wife, I've been the girlfriend, I've been the solo poly, I've been a part of I've been polyandry, two boyfriends at the same time. I pretty much experienced a lot of this, right? Now this is coming from the unicorn. We call them unicorns, right? When you're a couple and you're looking for another woman to come in, well, most time women looking for another woman to come into your relationship, um, as a couple, we call those women unicorns, right? So
Okay.
right now, I'm technically like a unicorn to my couple, right?
Okay.
As a unicorn, it's very, very unfair to bring me or want to experiment with my feelings because you just want to kind of see what happens. You know what I mean? And so
Mm.
as a woman, as women, we have this competitive nature of I'm gonna say selfishness, but that's kind of what it is. This is mine. This is me. I want him for me. All your attention better be on me. And if it's not, I have a problem with it. Deal with those emotions first. Deal with that mindset first. Start to adjust your mindset a little bit more. Play around with, pointing out, oh, she cute to you. Do you like that type of woman? Try to start to see what he likes a little bit, and what you will be comfortable with. Have open dialogue conversations before you start to experiment and bringing in unicorns, because I'm a part of a lot of groups where unicorns are very emotionally hurt because of the
Mhm.
same thing. They get involved with a couple, everything's great. Next thing you know, woman get into her feelings, like, oh, I don't want to try this anymore. I don't like it. Cut it off. Wrong. So now you have a whole relationship with a whole other person, and you've hurt them because of just experimentation. So,
Right.
long story short, deal with your mindset first.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
advice.
a lot of people who, well, I won't say a lot of people, but a few people that I know who tried it and it didn't work out for them. It was very interesting that you said make sure your mind is right, because I think that a lot of it definitely is mental. If you are the type of person that knows that you're very competitive, then I don't think that this is something that you should try. And it's really interesting that you said the women are more competitive, because I seen women commenting on the polyamory post that I put up, but it was more interesting that you said within it you see a lot of the women being more competitive, because I thought it would be the opposite.
Well, like what you mentioned earlier on, the idea of having multiple men is not toyed with a lot. That's
Mm.
not the that's not like the forefront of the poly community. Most of the time is more than one woman. I'm not even gonna say two women, it's more than one woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, however, and I guess, and that, this is so sexist of me. I'm gonna put that out in advance. It's sexist, but I understand the male ego. I understand, the alpha inside of a male. I understand that as his natural nature is to be raw, like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, okay, I get it. You'll be all right. That type of thing. I get it. So I kind of maybe mentally I give them in a pass because I know that most of them will be that way. But as being in the community, there's a lot of men that are not like that. There's a lot of men that are perfectly fine. Like, look, as long as we understand what it is from the beginning, they're perfectly fine with it. Now, monogamous men already, like hyper monogamous men, trying to tap into that life, yes, it's a very big pull if the woman wants more than one man because, I'm the man, territory, right? Or, I gotta put my foot down, pee on the tree, like that type of thing. Um, so it's there, but I don't think that any of it is mandatory. It's just whatever the couple wants. If she's okay with not being with another man, then you guys explore a woman together, and that's it. But now, if she's saying, "Hey, I want to explore with another man," and his hair,
You're involving multiple people, it's like everybody needs to be on the same page, because like you said, people come in just wanting to be part of something, and then feelings get involved, people it is that they really want. So especially a woman in that situation, if you know that you want to involve another man in that dynamic and he's not with it, then to me the obvious thing to do would be to let that go and move on to somebody else, because to me, I feel like trying to force these dynamics into place is a lot of times the reasons why they don't work out. And I was doing a little bit of research, and I seen that like 20%, about 20% of the population said that they tried to get into a poly relationship. It didn't meet their expectations. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And I think a lot of that is because people are not being honest about what it is that they really want. And they're kind of treating it like something to just try, instead of understanding that this is serious, because these are real relationships. These are
the
not,
real people.
let me just go and have sex with multiple people. It's real relationships that people are engaging in. And I think that's another big misconception about poly, is a lot of people think that it's just one big orgy, and it's people wanting to get together and have sex and kind of use poly as an excuse to do
Those
it.
are swingers. It's just a
Yeah, I
completely
think
different
that
set of people.
a
And you
lot of
can be a
people
swinger
confuse
too.
that.
There's nothing wrong with being a swinger if that's what you're into. You can just swing and have sex and that be it. Done. I know couples who are like that. They just have
I'm
sex and
gonna
that's
jump
it.
into the comments right quick. Let me see what people are saying. Let me see. Let me see. So a few people are saying hello. Dianara, she said hello. Anita, she says hello. Betty, she says hello, ladies. Um, Let me see here. Samantha says, this seems so emotionally taxing. How on earth do you please more than one person and stay sane?
I don't even think that it's a thought. It's kind of like you have more than one homegirl, don't you? And you ever been into a scenario where you have like two homegirls that they don't get along? So you're like, okay, I know if I'm gonna go here, let me not invite this one, or if I'm going this one, like it's the same thing. I feel like from the outside we overthink it a little bit. It's just as another person, just like you have a coworker, you get to know. You sit in an area where it's five different people. You get to know all five of those people. You know them. You explore them. You talk to them every day. You come into work. You may have gone to lunch with each of them separately, so you know what they're going through. So you have a better understanding of them. You may not like that one at all, but it's the same thing. It's
Right.
just another relationship. It doesn't take much work, honestly. It doesn't take much work. It's just getting to know. Like my couple, my her husband to come. There's times where he and I go out alone. He'll come get me. We'll go out, hang out, whatever, spend time together alone, so that we have that moment of connection. There's times where I talk to him by himself. I talk to her by herself. I talk to both of them. We go on trips together. All three of us. She and I may go on a trip alone, so it's just like any other relationship. It just happens to be we are also romantically involved. And it just to piggyback on what you said earlier, poly life just has zero to do with sex, technically. Um, I have relationships with people right now that I consider them a poly partner that I don't have sex with. You understand? So it doesn't have to be sexual. It's just having that intimate relationship with another person, to where our commitment to each other is to build, is to love, and everything else that we're gonna do together. We're committed ourselves to each other. Now, have sex. That's it. We don't have to have relationships. That's the line between a swinger and then you get into the poly life. Poly life is more about relationship building. So I'm going all off topic, but an esoteric question, it doesn't cause much extra thought at all. It's just he calls, I talk to him, she calls, I talk to her, and anyone else I'm entertaining, they call and we spend time. Or hey, what you doing this weekend? Oh well, I have plans with this person. Okay, well, not a big deal. It's the same thing. Nothing different than any other relationship.
Okay, wow. You just burst my bubble big time because
What?
when you said that, because I was all off. I didn't know that um you could be in a poly relationship that's not an intimate relationship. Because you said you're
Not
in a
sexual.
poly, you have been in a poly relationship that's not sexual. And I honestly thought that if you in these relationships, you're having like a companionship, a relationship without sex with that particular person. So that's very interesting because I think, and I could be wrong, but do you think that more men would be open to that particular dynamic of it if their woman was in a relationship, a poly relationship with another man, but there was no sex involved?
Non-sexual.
Have you seen any particular relationships like that besides your own?
Where they're open to having other male relationships,
Where yeah,
non-sexual.
where that the woman has another male partner, but it's not a sexual relationship, and her partner is okay with that. For the ones that you said are a little bit hesitant and have a little bit of resistance, have you come across anybody where they had hesitance and resistance, but they were kind of okay with the relationship as long as it wasn't sexual?
I can't say I have, because most of my poly friends are for real poly. Like most of my poly crew are, I mean, they're completely open. Like it doesn't, I haven't experienced, well, I haven't seen anyone else experience that because everybody is kind of like they don't care. But there is a lot of people that believe, and I'm one of them that believe that you can be way closer than a person to a person mentally than physically. That physical part is kind of seals the deal, but if you can be so into a person mentally and be gone, like that's, think about a lot of relationships when people start to step out, even before they get to the
Mhm.
physical part, they've stepped out mentally, and that's where the hard part comes in. But to me, it all again boils down to the same thing, just being able to communicate that. Because like I was in when I was in my I can't even say it was monogamous, but it was basically monogamous with my ex-husband. He was very set on no guy better not ever. No, like I couldn't even have other males call my phone who was not him. Like, oh, who is this guy? Why is he conversing with you? Like so. People know that mental connection is way deeper than the physical. Think about those people that have relationships, even when in monogamy, where you may meet a person and you're dating for 6 months before you have sex, right? Those that that's you're in a you can be in a relationship and not have sex, and you guys are committed. Hey, this is what I am. Even if maybe we saving yourself for marriage for each other, whatever, you're still in a relationship. It's the same thing with poly life. Everything doesn't have to end up sexual.
Okay. So I'm gonna jump back in to the comment section. And Samantha says, right, a lot of people just think it's sexual. Yeah, I think that's a real big misconception about poly life is a lot of people do think it's strictly sexual. And again, they don't understand that these are real relationships and it's not just people wanting to have sex with multiple people.
I
It's an
agree.
alternative lifestyle. But I wanted to ask you something because you mentioned to it completely, but based on my research, poly relationships are not recognized when it comes to marriage. Like it's not legal, and I think they said about 50 states is not
I
legal.
said depending on what state or what country you're in. Yeah, but most people, if they are interested, they'll go away and come back, go away, get married, and come back. Um, but again, the constructs, man, like these boxes that people like to place, right? I don't even see it as being that mandatory for me to be on paper. Like I don't see that as a mandatory thing. That's only just a financial document. There's nothing that does that doesn't validate my relationship because I have to have it on paper where, my last name change or whatever the case may be. There's other ways around it as well. A lot of people like in a sense where me and my couple were talking about before is there's other ways around that too of making you legally binded in different ways. Of which is starting a LLC company together, putting everybody on the LLC or or a corporation or whatever, and that's a binding document as well. So there's ways around that the poly community uses. There's even a couple that I know that were married. They met their girlfriend, fell in love with her heavily, and they got divorced so that because they didn't want to make her feel like she's an outsider or a third wheel, and so they didn't want to have those constructs, if that makes any sense. um so yes, it's true, but there's people that go to other countries, all three get married and come back, and you know they do it like that as well, but I don't see a need for it. I don't see a need for it.
Okay. So with many different lifestyles becoming cultural norms in this country specifically, do you foresee poly becoming like a legally recognized relationship where you can go and get married and be legally, I guess, legally binding to the standards of the country? Do you see that as something that is forthcoming anytime in the near future?
You want to pull me into this religion and politic talk. I don't see that anytime soon, and the reason why I say that is that ties back into my historical understanding of why monogamy was pushed in this country in the first place. Most of the places, I mean, it's us. Like it's just us. Because of the way that it was forced upon us in the first place, I don't see it anytime soon. Just start a business, do the business thing together. Everybody's on together. This is us. We're connect. We all of our anything that we buy another house. We buy it through the company. You know what I mean? Like there's other
Mhm.
ways around it. So
Okay, okay, okay. So I don't see any more comments in the comment section. So I'm
okay, go ahead.
um so as far as because for me, I would think with children being involved in poly relationships, there might be some confusion as far as the children. So if you have children, has that been a challenge for you? Kind of trying to answer questions that the children may have about seeing multiple people and having them to understand, what poly is, or is it something that you don't talk about, or how do you explain that to the children?
So I think it's important, and I think this is something that I too kind of went through many, many moons ago. Is the question mark, because when you have monogamy built into your mind, you think that monogamy is right and everything else is wrong. So first things first, I had to drop that mindset because my lifestyle as having multiple people is not wrong. So technically teaching my children about it is not wrong. It's giving them an option and letting them know that that it's not only one way. You understand? As parents, we are very controlling and we program our children whatever we want them to have. And so this is just another aspect of that. What are you programming them with? So for me, and again, just my opinion, folks, um, from the way I dealt with it with my children, my little one is too little. He's only 7 years old. He don't give a mess about relationships at all right now. So he's like this, like whatever. Um, what I what I did with my eldest son, though, he's 12. I pretty much dropped little bits and pieces here. Like one day he asked me about um, having a boyfriend or something like that because I never really introduced my partners as that. I just kind of introduced them. Hey, this is what you call it. This is my son, and that's just basically it. It's very important to me for people if I'm going to bring anyone into my life, having them a part of my children's life is very, very important. And from my experience, having multiple people has benefited my children in a whole nother, like, it's a huge benefit because I'm not restricting them to one male figure in their life. You understand? Like, um, now, and I want to also put this disclaimer out there. I'm not talking about dating. When I just met a guy for 2 weeks, so you can introduce my child. No, I'm talking about those partners that I know this is a person that I've established will be, a great asset to what I'm building into my life and things like that. Those people. Um, so he'll meet them. I introduce them. He just knows them as he sees them, come in and out all the time. Hey, what's going on? Whatever. We'll go out. They'll take us out. That type of thing. And I told him one day we had a conversation because he's very lovey-dovey. He's a Taurus, so he has a huge heart. He loves, the idea of family and love and life and all of that stuff. And we spoke about it. We had a regular conversation, and I told him, I said, well, I don't really believe in having one. I believe in having multiple, and he has because he and his father and I are divorced. So over there, when he's with his father, they have their example of a monogamous relationship because he's in one, he's there with his girlfriend, and so on and so forth. Whereas over here, it is a little bit different. And so when I spoke to him about it, he said, "Oh, okay, well, I can understand that," is his exact words. And he says, "Well, for me, I think I only want one wife because I don't want her to be upset at me and I don't want to deal with the drama." That's what he told
Oh,
at, this is like 9, 10 years old, so you'd be
gosh.
surprised at what, first of all, let me just say, you'll be surprised at what these children experience in school already, to where something as simple as poly is small compared to some of the things that I've witnessed him go through as a middle schooler, or witnessed him help other people go through as a middle schooler, So
Mhm.
I think that it's a healthy thing to have, a healthy conversation to have. I also have a poly friend who he has two wives. But he's also open. Like he pretty much has a lot of poly partners and women and things like that. That he has relationships with, and that was one of the questions I actually asked him because he'll travel with his son who is he was in high school at the time, 18, 16, 17 years old, and he'll go travel and then go stay with another one of his poly partners, and they go travel to somewhere else and he's staying over there too. And I was like, well, how do your children react to that? Because his children are older versus mine are kind of little. And he's like, what is it not to react? He said when they're in school and people say, oh, they talk about family, whatever, and they say, oh, I have two mommies, and the other kids like, you have two mommies, and they're like, you have one,
Oh
so it's,
wow. Oh wow.
yeah, it's a mindset, his kids were raised in a house with two women, so
My Graham has a question for you in the comment section. Not to cut you, but I want to get to his question. He says maybe I'm Johnny come late. So why is it that it can't be? Why is it that it can't be limited to one? What do you mean? Why it can't be limited to one?
that's called monogamy, and that's fine too. Just not my preference or his preference or any of my poly friends preference. That's all. I don't see anything wrong with anyone's preference. I think that it's just open communication. But I do believe that a lot of people hide behind monogamy and they'll have these secret desires and secret thoughts. And it's like, okay, I can't say that because that's wrong, or I can't like this person. A lot of us have work boyfriends and girlfriends. Let's put it out there. And that, people don't react like that's nothing. That's a part of having another relationship with the person, even if you're pretending or just at work, like this is real life, but people don't talk about it. People don't acknowledge it as being okay.
Yeah, because honestly, I feel like for people who are messing around with multiple people, but they're just not being honest about it,
There's a lot
I
of
think
cheating.
that it will serve them well to at least try to
The
attempt to
honesty.
introduce. You're hurting people by cheating on them. And if being with multiple people is something that you're into, then why not be honest about that? Because you never know what a person
Will be okay
is
with.
willing, you're right, is willing to be involved with if you don't ask them. But to me, with cheating, it's like you take away that person's option to decide if
I
they,
agree.
want to deal with something like that, want to deal with you messing around with multiple people. Because the truth be told, most people who get cheated on, they don't leave the relationship, at least not after the first time. So it's like, be honest and be
Let's just be
open about
real.
what it is that you really want, and then give people the option to decide if that's something that they want to, be involved with. But
And you'd be
Claude
surprised in
says,
2020, people are very open-minded. It right
mm-hmm,
now, it's very rare that I run into a person that's like, no, no, I can't. Most people are like, oh, really? I thought about that once, but I never did it. So how's that work? And people are very, very open. Just listen, the whole cheating
yeah,
thing,
that's right.
we all have had the experience, like enough already.
Yeah, Claude says that's called communication. I guess I don't know if he's referring to me or you, but yeah, that is called communication. People need to be open about what it is that they want so that there's no confusion and everybody's on the same page. Now, as far as for me, um, I don't know. Be in a poly relationship. And it's not because I think there's anything wrong with it. It's just I um I don't like dealing with multiple people like that. Like, I when I'm in a relationship with somebody, I kind of just want to focus on that person. For me, honestly, I think I might get aggravated because I got to deal with one person already. And then, realistically speaking, you're dealing with multiple people's emotions. And I don't know if I could do that. That might be a little bit draining for me. Um,
For me, it's kind of tag team. It's like when I don't have to deal with this, I have someone else to lean on or help us get through this together or be our median or, let's talk about this together. What do you think about this? Okay, I need to rationalize this. Okay, well, I'm tired of this person. I need a moment. Let me go with Babe. Me and Babe finna go on a trip because we need a moment to ourselves. Okay, well, what he did? Oh, I'm gonna call him right now. What did you do, Babe? Babe, you know that was, you can't do that. Okay, all right. Like it's each his own. To
I
each his
don't know where all these comments are. I didn't see these comments. I'm so sorry, guys. I did not see your comments, but I'm gonna try to get through them real quick.
Where are you
Um,
looking at, by the way? I was trying to look on your page. It's on
there's
your Facebook.
okay, so these are YouTube comments. Okay, listen, there's comments coming in on Facebook, YouTube. Hotep Kendall says, if it happened with the LGBTQ community, it can happen with poly. I think they're referring to the comment that I asked you about
Being
the
approved.
different, right, the different dynamics, and do you see it being approved? I agree with that. I think that we're gonna start to see it being more accepted. I don't know how soon that's gonna happen, but I do think that, in the coming years we're gonna see it. And Hotep Kendall says it takes a village to raise children, which is true.
Which
Uh,
I love
Miss
that. I
Arquay
think it's
says, "LOL, I used to stay having work husbands."
exactly. You do. Every job I've been to, I had a work husband. And listen, you can be so well involved with those people and never talk a day outside of work. It's
True
like,
enough, true enough. Hotep Kenu says it was his wife's idea to have an open marriage. And yep, it's the betrayal that hurts and the dishonesty that hurts. Exactly. So that's not the same thing as poly, is it?
well, tell me to do. Are you saying like I have a poly friend who her and her husband, they're married, but they only have sex with other people. But there's no relationship building. They're like, no. She's like, can't take that. I don't want you to have no other girlfriend. We can explore, have sex, and that's it. Done. That's it. We're done. That's it. Come home. That's it. But
Yeah. Because I would think that that could be different because an open marriage could, like you said, just be them going out with another person, but that person not necessarily being part of their relationship.
and it can be the
Oh,
other way too. I know married couples who actively date separately.
hmm.
They're gonna have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but they're dating completely separate, not of each other. I've dated a guy who had that dynamic. Me and his wife was very cool. We had each other's number. We text from time to time, but I wasn't in a relationship with her. I wasn't dating her. So
Mm. Okay, Tiffany. I don't know if you were here earlier, but she did answer that question. What if you all didn't live together? She did answer that, and she said that you don't have to all live together in a poly relationship, which is something that I was confused about too. I thought it was like, a big family all in one home and, kind of exploring that dynamic. But I want to thank you very much for being here, answering my questions, clearing up a lot of confusion that I had about the poly lifestyle. Like I said, I don't know if it's for me in particular, but I am very open minded to other people's lifestyles. I don't think that is anything wrong with it. I think it's just another way of living. I don't really know why there's such a negative stigma on it when it comes to some people because, again, it's just another way to live your life. And if people are open to it and willing to live their life that way, I don't see why we should judge that. And, people are in healthy and happy poly relationships. So it's not like it's just one big drama filled mess. There's people actually happy in these relationships. And I feel like if it's something that people want to get involved with, they do need to be open minded about it and just, know what it is that you're getting into. But before we go, are there any last words you want to leave with the viewers? Maybe somebody who's considering the poly lifestyle. What would be the last words you would have for them?
Um, the last words I would have would be a reiteration of mindset. Clear up your mental constructs. You're gonna have to drop a lot of them before you consider this. And part two would be um, deal with your insecurities first. Opening up your marriage, opening up your relationship, any little bit of insecurity that you've had about yourself with your partner is going to shine itself really loudly. If you a person that's insecure about, oh, maybe I don't cook a lot, cook enough, and then you end up dating someone who cooks a lot, you're going to start to feel little pins and little sticks and needles. So deal with yourself, mindset, and insecurities before you explore.
Well, thank you so much again for being here. This was very eye-opening for me. I learned a lot. I feel like I'm armed with knowledge now. And the comments are still pouring in here. Guys, I want to thank you all for watching. Um, if you showed up late, come earlier next time because I do like to get to all the comments. But we got to get out of here. Claude, thank you so much for watching. I'm just going to read his last comment. He said, I'll say this in the South Florida region, people just want to do what they want and not put in the real work of getting to know one person 100 ways instead of knowing 100 people one way. Well, again, it's all about preference. You know, you can't really tell a person how they should live their life. Um,
My partners, I know all of them in and out. So that's not a valid statement.
right.
Like,
It's like don't I don't feel like you should put constraints on another person's lifestyle. You know, people are gonna do what's best for them. I don't see it as
I
I'm
don't have a
sorry.
hundred,
Claude
but
says it doesn't sound like insecurities were cleared up. What do you mean? Does it sound like insecurities were cleared up? I mean, if you're getting into poly, you better leave those insecurities at the door because
they're gonna
it's
dig
not
deep on
gonna
your
be the
side.
lifestyle for you, you know? Don't go into a poly lifestyle insecure. That's happen. Okay, real quick. YouTube, Hotep Kennel says he shared this with her because he wanted her to understand the difference. People are conditioned to conform to societal norms. They feel pressured like everyone else for fear of judgment. Again,
hundred
don't
percent.
let people judge the way you want to live your life, how you choose to live your life. As long as you're not hurting anyone else, then people should just fall back and let you live the way that you choose to live. Because again, everybody doesn't live their life the same way. These are alternate lifestyles, and everybody has the right to do what it is that makes them happy. And I think they should be able to do that without judgment.
100%
Real
agree.
quick, what's your thoughts on that about him saying that people feel pressure to conform because of judgment?
I agree 100%. I think we touched on that a little bit earlier. It just boils down to, again, okay, so I'm gonna get kind of philosophical, right? Falling in love with yourself is the greatest feat. That's the greatest feat. That should be everyone's goal, is to learn how to love themselves. We're talking about poly relationships, but this is also for monogamous. You should not go into a relationship without knowing and loving yourself. Once you get to that point where you know and love yourself, that freedom, that mental freedom that you have is it's such a release that it's so hard to explain unless you experience it. When you're able to open up and be holistically you and not care about what anyone thinks or what society says you have to be, that I suggest people go into the whole poly lifestyle, because yes, you are gonna be conformed, but you have to shake that off. Stop lying to your partner, saying you're going to your homeboy house and you're going to go see the chick and take her out to eat. Just try, just be yourself, and that makes you happy. More than one person makes you happy. It doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you different, and different is
Exactly. Exactly.
okay.
So yeah, we're gonna end on that note. I completely agree with that. Be comfortable with who you are, love yourself, and be honest about what it is that you want, because you may be very surprised what it is that people are open to. But again, a closed mouth does not get fed. You don't want to be in a situation where you're not living your truth, because again, when you do that, people do get hurt. But again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
I learned
having
a
me.
lot. I'm sure the audience learned a lot. And guys, please remember to share this live stream. And I will see everyone next week. Thank you for watching. And again, please check out our sponsor, buhosting.com. Again, that's buhosting.com. Thank you for watching, everyone, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.